Hi, I'm Quiet Liz, and today I thought I'd talk about probably a common issue that lots of trans people have. Um, Dating while trans. I don't know. I don't. It's kind of a loaded topic. I guess I'll just sort of start with I don't know. My first date after having come out. um, Actually, no. I'll start with before I came out. Dating was I had a college girlfriend. I met her through classes and just hanging out and college life. Nothing really special there. Honestly, I didn't know I had a girlfriend, or rather, I didn't know I was going on a date the first time we went on a date. I thought we were just kind of hanging out as friends. But in any case, I was always kind of awkward in terms of like dating, and one outlet, so to speak, that um, I went with was online dating. Um, Tried a bunch of different stuff, and um, it just felt more comfortable. Like I was never the type of person who would go to a bar and like try to hook up or meet up with people. I don't know. That just felt always super awkward for me. Um, so I kind of carried that over after transitioning. Didn't start dating or trying to until after having gotten divorced, or rather, technically separated. Paperwork hadn't finished going through at that point, so there's that. Anyways, yeah. So, in terms of like how I presented myself online, I was very upfront. Um, I don't know. I've always felt more comfortable that way of like just acknowledging I'm trans out the door. Like it was usually, I mean, even now I think it's like in the first paragraph of like whatever my little about me intro happens to be, that sort of thing. It's a big part of me, so I'm very upfront about it. Um, that's the approach I take, which is kind of amusing because talk to a lot of people, a lot of guys who think that interacting with women equates to sending dick pics. I really don't know how else to put it. And as my coworker once enlightened me, there is a right way to send a dick pic, and it is generally of Richard Nixon or something to that effect. A rooster, if you want to go for a cock. Um, that was dorky and cute, and God, I wish that would have been what I got. Um, but it wasn't. Usually the first few lines was something to the effect of hi, hey, and that was about it. I don't know. I've never been necessarily hardcore leaning towards any gender, kind of open. Just I will say that that was my experience at that point in time when I first started dating. Um, with women, conversations could be that bad. Well, minus the lewd pictures. I don't know. I guess that's not a thing. Um, Lewd conversations and naughty topics and such can happen, but didn't. Um, like pictures and that element wasn't there. God, I'm rambling. Did I mention being awkward about this? Okay. So struck out with a few guys. I really wasn't interested. I'd usually get bored. I mean, they couldn't hold much of a conversation, and it generally ran off to the whole, "Hey, let's cyber sex," or "I want to meet up for sex," which doesn't work for me. Um, so one thing that kind of caught me off guard was ended up talking to um, a woman who had a lot of common interests. We both like playing video games. We both liked anime. Uh, she liked anime way more than I did. Like, if this is my list of anime, hers was like really big, like to the ceiling and floor in comparison. Uh, um, so we had a lot to talk about. And what was interesting was that, like, when we first started talking, it was about a lot of different topics. Anime, video games, those were kind of the easy ones. Life, what we were doing. We both worked in IT. What other hobbies and interests we had. And before I knew it, like, we had been chatting for 5 hours. What was interesting was that she had um, asked if I wanted to talk on the phone, which at that point I wasn't okay with because I was very self conscious about my voice and I didn't know how that was going to go. But she was cool about that and very respectful. And yeah, so I figured, well, if we could talk for five 5.5 hours that turned into, I think it was like 7 before we finally agreed we should go to bed. We should go out. So I asked her out to a lunch date, and it was funny. I got really excited, nervous, and super duper anxious and everything. Um, and I got there early to pick her up because I don't know. I'm good about being on time for things typically. And well, when I'm really excited for something, I tend to be rather early. So yeah, she wasn't ready, and I got to meet her roommate, who um, was not much of a talker. So it was very awkward sitting in the living room with them playing video games and kind of ignoring me. But I wrote that part off because, well, as the roommate, I wasn't there for the roommate. So we went out, we had lunch, and um, she was taking some medication and forgot to take the medication and didn't remember till we were like halfway through the lunch meal. So we finished up, rushed back to her apartment, and she took the meds, but she wasn't feeling well, so she laid down and asked if I could just hang out and keep her company. So I did, and so we cuddled in the bed, and I took care of her for a bit, which was, I don't know, it's me. Not really sure how else to put that. I kind of am just a nurturer, so it was very much in my element and made me very comfortable interacting with her. Um, what was what was amusing is that while I'm very upfront about being trans, she wasn't, and it wasn't a deal breaker beforehand. Just in case that's a thought crossing your mind. I didn't find out until um, one thing led to another. um, and yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting, and it was like, huh. So this is what people freak out over, and it was just like, well, kind of didn't have a problem one way or the other, anyways, and was just kind of interesting seeing the difference of approaches, so to speak, in terms of, say, someone who has more of a stealth mindset and my mindset, or someone who's not really quiet about it. Not super loud, but not super quiet either. Um, that was my first date. And, or rather, my first experience dating after having come out. Um, we're still together, for what it's worth. The reason that dating gets a little complicated in terms of like speaking about it is because, well, I'm also poly. So, um, I did more dating, and What I found was that no matter how hard I tried, I could never seem to find a guy who was, well, interesting for more than a few minutes or a couple dates. I did go on 2 dates with one guy. Um, he wasn't very snuggly. I like cuddles, so that didn't work out. And then there was one guy that we went on like one date, but it was awkward. Didn't really get along once we actually met in person. So that didn't go anywhere. And was kind of amusing is that dating pre-op, one of the tricky parts with guys was a lot of guys were interested in me because they wanted me to top. Um, which I wasn't opposed to. I'm not opposed to, I guess is more accurate. But it's not all I want. But I did find that rather interesting and sometimes annoying. Because, I mean, well, it wasn't so much that they were chasers and obsessed with me for being trans, or I guess that qualifies. I just ran into a lot of experiences where guys were just looking at me as someone who could peg them. And that sucked. Um, I get that some people could see it as, well, you're accepted, and that's great. I'm accepted because I have a penis. And boobs. Yeah. That's not very... It's not very appealing. So, that part sucked. And that was generally just with guys. Dating women wasn't really much of an issue, but I did find myself leaning towards other trans women more than cis women, which I guess kind of also extended towards guys. At least I wasn't conscious about it at that point. But there's that notion that, well, she gets me. She knows what I'm going through. So when I have a really shitty day because of some stupid dysphoric reason that has absolutely nothing to do with logic, and yesterday didn't happen to be an issue, but today it's an issue for no fucking reason. Oops. Oh well. um, that appeal was there, and there was a bit of bias. Um, what was interesting is that dating post-op, I haven't really done much dating post-op except for one guy. Um, I don't know how to put this part. There were perceptions with guys that I talked about. And ways of talking and such, and things that I kind of expected, and he broke all those expectations. He broke the mold. I had this fantasy, if you will, or this I guess, no, I think fantasy kind of counts. Like this guy envisioned of like someone who could hold a conversation, who could relate to me, have similar interests, be dorky and nerdy and geeky and funny and really really sweet, and see me as more than just a trans chick. Um, Funny enough, meeting, or rather, interacting post-op had nothing to do with me being actually post-op, other than I had nothing to do while I was in bed recovering for the first month, so I decided, well, I'm interested in dating again once I start feeling better, so let's go redo my profile. Expected nothing of it. And then he messaged me, and I messaged back, and we chatted for a while, to the point that we went on our first date a couple days after I got back into town, and because I had put something about not caring about the place that I go to in terms of a date, but more so the company, Taco Bell was referenced because it is one of my guilty pleasures. So our first date was at Taco Bell, which was, well, in a dating sense, it was good food. Well, good to me and him. And we spent a lot of time talking. And then there was this random couple on the other, like sitting next to us, who had this. The lady had a notification of the whistling. Of course, now I won't be able to whistle, so there we go. That. And so it kept going off. And it was kind of amusing, just like the interaction and teasing and conversation that resulted between them and us. And I had a good time. And then we went to go watch Doctor Who, because I am still not caught up on the current season, but that was the rationale. At least we intended to go watch Doctor Who. We spent more time talking and didn't actually watch any Doctor Who, which was cool. I mean, to a degree, I kind of wanted to watch Doctor Who, but at the same time, being able to hold a conversation with someone, it's worth more than a TV show to me. And I like that he's broken that mold. That stigma that I had, that the guy I could date would only exist in my head. And he scares me a lot more than anyone else I've ever dated, because everyone else I've ever dated wasn't, well, we shared a lot of flaws and we messed up a lot. And that hasn't come up. I mean, we have our flaws. We share some. And we're also fumbling through various things. And having fun doing so. And I've gotten to meet his friends, and he's gotten to meet mine. And we interact well. And I like that. So, I don't know. I guess I've had a few successes and a lot of failures. A lot of relationships or dates since having come out in the, well, 5 years of dating, so to speak. A little bit less than that, but I'm not going to pull up a calendar to figure that out. I've been lucky, and I know that my story isn't always the same story that other trans people have, and I hope that that statement changes. That people have more success, so to speak, with dating. And yeah. So I guess that kind of wraps up my dating life up until this point. I should probably talk about the whole poly thing and whatnot at some point, but I don't know. I've gone on enough for the dating aspect of things. So yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in comments. Like and subscribe, and I'll keep posting videos. Okay, bye.